pulling a car in his neighborhood. Odell is back at it again, this time with a slightly different vehicle, this time from a different position, this time gifting his sister a brand new custom Jeep for her Sweet 16. How cool is that?
Oh, that is nice, man.
I mean, when your brother is Odell, you get to get gifted a car.
That is nice, man. I like
with
that.
A couple thousand
Jenna,
people watching.
What were you driving at 16?
16, nothing. But a little later, I drove in a Zuzu Trooper.
And
it's the first car my dad got me.
I don't think those. I don't know if those are still
I don't know
around.
if they make them.
I like those.
My dad wanted me in the largest,
safest?
biggest, safest car imaginable.
That's a fast start for a 16-year-old. Man, what you do when they get 21?
Yeah. Well, I mean, but it's the sibling.
What was yours?
Mine was a 91 Acura Legend. It was my first car.
That's a pretty safe car.
A 91 Acura Legend. But Cece, when Duran turned 16, he had the fast car that you were tracking on him.
Oh, I had a low jack one.
He had a low jack, so he would be able to call.
Yeah, he had a Lexus
I
truck
saw
hybrid.
you were going 85. He had what now?
Lexus hybrid.
Oh, okay. There you go.
Florida, they hit the highway to go to school.
Hit the highway to go to school, indeed. Call him up. Saw you're going 85 again, Duran.
Did you ever get a speeding ticket?
No, we don't do tickets, Jenna. We talk our way out of them.
Oh, smooth. I like it.
12 tickets right here.
Yeah,
12
that's why
tickets.
Jenna had her license taken away.
Then I got it back. Then I got it back.
Jenna was a reckless driver in that Suzuki Trooper.
Time for some stories to start your morning. The Utah Jazz took down the Houston Rockets 116-108 last night. That series all even up at one game apiece. Joe Ingles dropping 27 points, going 7 of 9 from three-point land. Donovan Mitchell added 17 points and 11 assists. Nick, how did Utah steal a road win last night?
Man, in addition to the Rockets going cold, the Jazz beat them at their own game, as Cece was talking about earlier, and Joe Ingles was spectacular. You're going to, for the Jazz to win a game, let's not forget, Ricky Rubio's not playing right now. And Donovan Mitchell shot 30% from the field. What, see? Go ahead.
I don't know why we can't be concerned with all that stuff. They shot the ball well. They're not playing without their point guard. They win in Houston.
Oh, I mean, I think it's a bad loss for Houston. I just don't. I don't think it's going to duplicate itself again this series. I think the Rockets played poorly yesterday. I think they should be upset about how they played. I just don't think it's going to indicate what's going to happen down the road.
I think Rockets fans should be concerned.
Okay.
Based on their lack of playoff success, I would be concerned if I lost at home.
Okay. All right, let's move on to some football. The Jets hope they drafted their franchise quarterback with the 3rd overall pick in Sam Darnold. We might not have to wait that long to see him play. The Jets general manager said Darnold will compete with Josh McCown for the starting job. CC, is it a good idea to immediately throw Darnold into the fire that is the New York Jets?
Well, they're not going to throw him in, but you don't take a guy at number 3 and expect him not to be able to play. Like, he should be able to play in his first year. I just believe Sam's in the best situation because Josh McCown, it's been mentioned that he's a great teammate. He's been a great mentor to other quarterbacks. His knowledge of the game as a backup, is pretty much second to none unless you have a lot more experience at the position. But I like Sam. I like what the Jets are going to do. I still would like them to add another weapon or two to be able to help Sam Darnold make that transition.
And if you saw, their biggest weapon at the wide receiver position had a warrant issued for his arrest yesterday, a guy that burst onto the scene last year. So that's not good news for them. This is exactly what you should do. You shouldn't anoint the guy as your starting quarterback, but you shouldn't do what I saw the Houston Texans do last year when they drafted Deshaun Watson and say he's ineligible to start game 1. And then they put him in at halftime of game 1.
They're like, I meant eligible.
Right. Allow it to be a competition, a true competition. If Darnold's good enough to win it, then he'll be the week 1 starter.
All right, let's talk some Steelers football. With Ben Roethlisberger planning to play 3 to 5 more years, he needs all his weapons. So when Pittsburgh traded wide receiver Martavis Bryant to the Raiders, Big Ben was, quote, caught off guard. CC, will the Steelers offense lose a step without Martavis Bryant?
I mean, he's hard to replace. He's got special abilities, especially given we talk about wide receivers. We want to have 5 of them. They look like a basketball team. We want sizes, speed, and we want some difference between them. For what Antonio does and what Juju does, he was the perfect fit as far as being the 3rd guy. but he thinks he's a #1 guy. So you got to get him out of that locker room. I believe he was poison to the rest of the team. Ben shouldn't be surprised based on his overall attitude the last 2 years and his inconsistency as far as being available for the team.
I understand why Ben might be bummed out by this because I do think he is a good fit. Antonio's arguably the best receiver in the league. Juju had an excellent rookie year, and Martavis has that straight line speed that adds another element to your offense. But why would Ben Roethlisberger be surprised by this? This is a guy who has been on the trade block for 2 years. He's going into the last year of his contract. Like, this was one of the least surprising moves during the NFL draft. That, of course, the Steelers were shopping Martavis Bryant. So I don't know if Ben actually was surprised or Ben just likes us talking about Ben, so he gave us another reason to talk about Ben. But I wasn't surprised by this. I understand why he'd be disappointed.
Martavis wasn't surprised.
No.
It was his understanding he was going to get traded this offseason. He wasn't participating in the offseason workouts.
All right, finally, it seems like every day Dez Bryant loses another possible suitor. And according to Adam Schefter, most teams in the league would not even sign Dez at the league minimum. Ooh. CC, take that by surprise. What does this mean for Dez Bryant?
League minimum.
Not good. It's not good. It's not good. My man Adam Schefter, when he says something, there has to be a whole lot of truth around that. And I didn't believe the reports when Dez got released that afternoon. There was someone reporting on another network that I talked to 4 teams today. Oh, and there's plenty of interest out there for Dez Bryant. He's going to find a home, and he's going to find one immediately. It's one reason why I told my partner Nick Wright, I wouldn't give up that job in Dallas. Don't give up a good job, man. If you get a chance to stay there, try to work it out. Now, Dallas, they didn't extend that opportunity for him. So they had to release him, but I'm surprised that the number of teams wouldn't have interest in Dez, especially at the league minimum. Now, what that says is there must be more information out there on Dez besides his film that they're not happy with. And also, they're not willing to take the risk from an injury standpoint because he's a vested player. Vested meaning if he gets hurt doing some football-related thing, then they're on the hook for him, and his contract will be guaranteed for the year. But this is not a good thing for Dez Bryant and his camp when you have teams that are openly giving information that we have no interest in you at the minimum price. Like, we won't pay you $1 million, the minimum price. And that's the contract that's set up for veteran players to be able to extend their contract. Now, this is what also, we're going to go through a stage of free agency. That will change once we get to the summer. Guys start to get hurt. We'll see if their stance is still the same. I believe that the teams will change by then, and I do believe Dez will find a home.
Listen, Dez, I would be shocked still, even with this report, if Dez is not on a roster in week 1. Like, even if he was overpaid last year and he had a low catch rate and he doesn't get separation, when we talk about it's the best 1,600 football players in the world, like there's about 120 wide receivers on active rosters. He's not the 130th best wide receiver in football. He might not be in the top 10 anymore. In fact, he's not. He'll be on a roster in week 1. But when you don't want Dez Bryant at the minimum, that's not just about football. Period, point blank. Like, I don't want to cast aspersions on Dez's character, but I'm not the one doing it. The teams are. If you don't want Dez Bryant at a minimum contract, what you are saying is Dez Bryant, non-football, either in the locker room or when he's not in our facility, we cannot rely on him, and he has more trouble than it's worth. And this is a guy who I understand there were reports and rumors years ago about a very disturbing video that did or didn't exist. The video never came out, and since then, off the football field, we haven't heard anything about Dez. But the teams must have heard something. The teams must have reason to believe that when he leaves the cocoon of Dallas, with the structure he has in place there, with the, I don't want to say safety net, but with the support he has there, that this guy's going to be a live
maybe it's not the kind of support every team is willing to do. You know, to have someone be with him, you know, basically 24 hours a day, for someone to be able to check in with him. And a lot of teams, most teams don't do that.
And you don't do that for the 27th best player on your roster.
But we know that to be true because how many teams have we seen take chances on players who've had off-the-field problems?
Well, of course.
Who've had sideline issues, who've had a number of different non-football related situations that have sort of come upon them. They've taken chances for some reason, as Adam Schefter is reporting. None of the other teams in the league at this point want to even sign him for the league.
Des Bryant at the league minimum. If the only thing we were concerned about is 60 minutes on Sunday, Des Bryant at league minimum would be one of the best bargains in football.
Sure.
No matter what you think of him as a player. Like, no matter what you can say, he doesn't get separation. He can only run 3 routes. The dudes who make the league minimum, some of them can only run 1 route. Some of them haven't gotten separation since high school. Like, so this is not just about football. And Schefter, it's one interesting thing I'm going to add to it. When you mentioned the report from before that the Packers and some other teams were involved in it, that reporter is more known to have his contacts with agents. Schefter is more known to have his contacts with organizations.
Yeah.
And if organizations are telling Adam Schefter, we're not interested in him at any price, that is some next-level intel that is not showing up in his game.
And the thing that they added to it that I thought was very incriminating was, because the phone call goes like this: do you have some interest in Des Bryant? And been like, no. Would you be interested in Des Bryant at the league minimum? No. Or the quote like this: are you interested in Des Bryant? No, we're not interested in, even if he was at the league minimum.
Right.
There's only 2 ways that conversation goes.
I think it's more likely the second, because it'd be an odd question for Schefter to ask. When we're hearing about Des turning down contracts, it wouldn't logically for Schefter to be like, what about at the league minimum? No one's talking about Des at the league minimum.
Right.
Feels like it's something that's offered up. We wouldn't even want him for free, essentially.
But fans should know, though, it's been reported that he did turn down a multi-year deal in Baltimore for $7 million, about the same deal that they gave Crabtree. $7 million a year, $21 million.
Any shot he's regretting that right now?
And I think there's a lot of things right now that are bouncing around Dez's head about the way he's handled this stage of his career that maybe he'd like back. Or maybe he just thinks everyone's wrong.
All right, let's switch gears for a second and talk about what's coming up tonight. Cavs Raptors coming off what LeBron James called his worst game of the season, the one where he had triple-double and the team won. The LeBrons are back at it tonight in Toronto for Game 2. The Cavs can't expect Toronto to shoot 20% in the fourth quarter again. They can't expect them to miss the final 11 shots in regulation again, and they certainly can't expect them to lose again. Nick, what are we to expect tonight in Game 2?
Listen, I think the Cavs are going to win. I think that LeBron is going to, while getting teammates involved again, while trying to be a distributor, what LeBron is going to do more in Game 2 than he did in Game 1 is try to get to the basket. Like, LeBron took 30 shots, but not a lot of those were at the rim. He settled a lot. He took a bunch of threes, particularly was it the fourth quarter. He shot 5 of them. It seemed, I think he was somewhat rattled from missing 3 of his first 4 free throws, and it made him less aggressive going to the rim. I also think LeBron knows we can put our foot on their throat right now. We can de facto win. If you win the first 2 on the road, man, that's a hard one to come back from. So I think you're going to see, while still distributing, a more aggressive LeBron James, and I do not think Toronto has an answer for that.
Critical game for Toronto, not just for the fear factor going down 0-2, losing the decisive home court advantage, but what is Toronto's record in Cleveland?
Oh, well, not just in Cleveland. LeBron James at home against Raptors has won 28 of his last 29. That includes the stint in Miami. So the Raptors on the road against LeBron, 1-28 in the last 14 years.
Now, I don't know if the Raptors are counting the Heat, but I know they're counting when LeBron was in Cleveland. And it's not a place they're very, very comfortable at. They haven't played there of recent. All right, there's no good memories from the coaching staff through their star players believing that they can win in Cleveland. So for me, I believe Toronto comes out. This is the most important game of the season for them, because they don't win this one, their season is over with. So I believe Toronto does play their best basketball game. A couple things to LeBron. Why did LeBron settle? The number one reason why LeBron settled in game number 1 was because LeBron was tired. All right? He was tired. He talked about him being burnt the game before, but you could see. The second reason why he settled on the jump shot is because Toronto played so much of the game with an illegal defense. When LeBron had the ball, they had an extra 2 guys in the paint. The refs didn't call it the whole game. And the third thing was they let the rookie hand check LeBron with 2 hands when LeBron was facing the basket. So when you watch tonight's game, If LeBron's able to get to the basket, it will be because he does have more energy after 2 days. But watch the other opposing players and see where they're at. If they're in the lane, LeBron's not going to try to go in there. He will settle for more jump shots.
And just real quick to answer I guess I slightly misunderstood your question. The Raptors have not won a game in Cleveland, playoffs or regular season, since early in 2014. So early in the first year LeBron went back to Cleveland. So I think it's 11 straight games they've lost there. But in the playoffs, how about this? The Cavs have won 4 straight games in Toronto in the postseason, and 7 straight games overall against Toronto in the postseason.
It's not that Toronto's letting the Cavs get in their head. Toronto's letting LeBron get in their head. And Toronto has to remember that they had an incredible offense throughout this season. They have to remember that they have an incredible bench that they can rely on. They have to remember that they have their own game plan and their own game. And I think what happened in the fourth quarter of that last game was they stopped and they're like, oh, my God, we're playing the guy that beats us all the time. Shots weren't falling. And I don't know if it was that cut and dry. But let's go back to the Cavs and what they're doing tonight. Ty Lue came out and said that Kevin Love is going to go ahead. Kevin Love, who's been struggling mightily over the course of the last, I don't know, pick however many games you want.
The whole playoffs. Is
going to start at center again tonight. He does have playoff experience. He just doesn't have the success so far in the last couple of weeks.
And that also means Tristan Thompson coming off the bench again.
Correct.
Tristan Thompson won't be in the starting lineup.
Yeah, I believe Ty Lue and them are wrong in this. I would start Tristan Thompson. He's a native Canadian. He's playing nothing on pride. We've talked about what he's going through off the court. His only oasis in life is on the court. He's given them a boost the last 3 times they put him in the game. When you're going back to your home country like that, you know what he's going through? You could see it. They wouldn't have won game 1 without him. If I would start him because the Cavs got dominated in the paint. No, they are not going to miss that many shots to Raptors at point-blank range. But Kevin Love is not a center. I believe they're going to need Tristan Thompson. Now, forget this series. They're going to need him. If they got championship aspirations, they need a center, and Kevin Love is not that.
The only reason I understand what they're doing, even if it's not what I would do, because when I want Tristan Thompson in the game when Jonas Valanciunas is in the game. Jonas Valanciunas is going to start for Toronto, so for that reason, I would want to start Tristan Thompson. The reason that I believe, and if you look at the quotes, it makes sense that they are starting Kevin Love at center, is they think Kevin Love is more likely to get off offensively as a 5 than a 4 because Valanciunas will be in the game. Valanciunas can't guard him on the perimeter.
Yeah, but if he was a legitimate all-star, that wouldn't matter.
Agreed.
Yeah,
of course.
no, right.
It's not like the Raptors have some great number 4 man on defense to worry about. I totally agree. But I think they are trying through hook or crook to get some version of Kevin Love back before they get to the conference finals where they will need, if they are playing Philly, to be firing on all cylinders.
But if he does play center, this is last series. Because if Philadelphia gets through, Joel Embiid will eat him whole.
Right.
All right? So they might as well go ahead and make the switch now.
Joel is so hungry all the time. Coming up, the Baltimore Ravens already have a plan for their newly drafted quarterback, Lamar Jackson. Wait till you hear what it is. That's next on First Things First. So he's eating Joel Embiid.